Hello, everyone. What I'd like to do is talk to you about pictographs. Pictographs are symbols that Native Americans use to communicate and tell stories. So if you think about it, they didn't have the ABCs and the written form of communication like we know today, but they communicated using symbols. And they would have drawn these symbols if you lived in the plains. They would have drawn these symbols on the teepees. They would have drawn them on buffalo hides and skins called hide paintings. They would have in our region, in sort of the Midwestern region, they would have drawn these on rocks and cliffs and caves. What I have here, and I will post this, so if you wanted to print this out at home, or you might be able to pull it up on your computer and look at it, and or you can make up your own symbols. But the way we read this is it's got a column of what the items are, the symbols are. So this one's birds, and this gives you a list of different birds from different tribes. Some that don't have um, a tribe underneath it is probably a pretty common symbol used throughout the United States. If it's got parentheses around it, like this one says Hopi, then that is Hopi's, the tribe, the Hopi, that's their image of a thunderbird. Here we have a Zuni, so that could be their version of a bird or a thunderbird. And so we have animals, we have nature symbols. Oh, I like going back to animals. I like the horse symbol, I like the deer symbol, the buffalo. Nature symbols, we have everything from a seed to a rabbit. We got different sun symbols, animal and plant symbols, person symbols, and I love the one for the Hopi because I thought that was really neat. Sometimes it's called the Kokopelli flute player, which means happiness and joy. We have insects like butterflies and dragonflies and spider. And the Navajo would have used this symbol in making blankets. You see that symbol a lot. We have feather symbols, tent symbols, and then on the other page we have nature symbols from star to the moon. We have cloud symbols. I know it looks like a person, but they don't give us a tribe, but it's a common cloud symbol. We have rain. I love these rain symbols. We have mountains, and the Arapaho uses this sort of like a square, but one of the corners is missing, and they use this zigzag line to connect it, sort of a different kind of triangle there. Oh, the Acoma tribe shows a better example. Lightning, plant and leaf symbols, cactus and corn symbols, flower symbols, and a squash blossoms, which is your different kinds of blooms or flowering plants. So what I'd like to do is just demonstrate how to use these symbols and maybe to tell a story, like they would use, like I said, in the plains on the hide paintings, where they paint these symbols on buffalo skins and hides, or in our area where they would have drawn these on rocks and cliffs. And so you could use crayons for this. I'm going to scoot this off to the side so you can see my paper. We'll leave the corner there showing. But I'm going to use a very old set of pastels. And since some of my colors are missing, I'm going to sort of pick from two very, very old sets of pastels. But now pastels is basically just colored chalk that's made for paper. Now, of course, you can get chalk that's actually made for sidewalks, and we call that sidewalk chalk. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with the black piece and this is what we call charcoal. And I'm sorry it's so tiny. But the fun thing about charcoal is, and pastels, you can sort of use it until it's just completely gone. So if you drop it or if it breaks, you don't throw it away, you can still use it. So here's my story. Every birthday, every Christmas, any time where I would get a gift, my parents would ask, "Hey, your birthday's coming up or Christmas is coming up. What would you like for your birthday?" And I had a neighbor down the road who actually had a horse. And I said, you know what? I would love to have a horse. Then we could go horseback riding with my neighbors. And my parents would always say the same thing. Oh, you're too young to have a horse. Horses are lots of responsibility. You have to feed them, you have to water them, you have to brush them. Uh, I don't think you're old enough to have a horse. Each year, same thing. Birthdays, Christmas, other holidays. What would you like for your birthday? What would you like for Christmas? Oh, I would love to have a horse. Same thing. Oh, no, we don't think you're old enough or they're responsible enough. Well, as time goes on, they ask. Well, I just quit telling them. So I asked for other things because I knew I would never ever get a horse. Well, one day when I got off the school bus and I saw tied to a tree was actually a horse, and I called him Spot because he had a spot on his back. Every morning before I went to school, no matter if it was raining, snowy, or pretty, I would make sure that that Spot had plenty of food and fresh water to drink. Every afternoon after I got out of school, I would make sure that he got exercise. I would brush him. I would make sure he had things, food, and make sure he had fresh water to drink for the afternoon. I wanted to prove to my parents that I was old enough and responsible enough to take care of my horse, that they thought I was responsible enough to give it to me. Well, one day I come home after school. I noticed that the gate was left open. Spot was nowhere to be found. I searched and I searched and I searched over the hills and over the mountains, and I could not find my horse Spot. It was getting late and the sun was starting to set, and it was getting really, really hot. So I stopped by the old cactus of the desert. And I said, "Oh, cactus of the hot, dry desert, have you seen my horse Spot?" The cactus said nothing because it's a cactus. But in the corner of my eye, I saw a rock, and it looked like it moved. And I'm saying, rocks can't move. So I took a closer look. It wasn't a rock at all. It was a turtle. It was the turtle of the Southwest. I said, "Oh, wise turtle of the Southwest, have you seen my horse Spot? He has a spot on his back." The old wise turtle looked up and he said, "Yes, I have seen a horse, but that was hours ago." I said, "Well, which way did it go?" They said, "Over the hill, there is a stream." That's the way he was heading. If I was you, I would go over the hill and look by the stream. I'm heading there. It has taken me all day to get where I am now, but I'm hoping to make it before the moon rises. I said, "Thank you, O wise turtle." So I ran over the hill, and there the stream was, and there by the stream was my horse Spot, getting a drink underneath the hot desert sun. I call him Spot because he has a spot on his back. So after I draw this with the charcoal, then what I do is I go back in with the color part, the color chalk. And this is what we mean by pastels. Pastels is colored chalk that's actually made for paper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back in. Oh, I forgot something. If you're using charcoal and pastels, I'm going to take my fingers. You can see it gets all over your hands. And I'm going to rub the lines I drew with my finger. And it smears and smudges a little bit. Because if Native Americans would have drawn this on a rock, it may be smeary or smudged. So I'm trying to smooth out my lines. And now I'm going to go back in and add the color. What I would do next is I would spray it with hairspray because charcoal and pastels is very dusty. And so what I did was any kind of powdered stuff like here I could, I don't want to blow it here in the house or here on my desk because it would just blow dust everywhere. But I would take this and shake it over a trash can, and then I would lightly spray it with hairspray. Now, like this Aquanet or Final Net will actually work. Aerosol hairspray. It acts as a fixative. It holds the dust to the paper. You can buy a very expensive artist fixative, but it stinks to high heaven, and it's very pricey. This is a little cheaper and it smells a lot better, and it does the job. And what will happen is the paper will look really, really, really wet, and then when it dries, your colors will sort of come back. Now, after it dries, then what I would do is crunch it up like a big paper wad. So this is what it looks like. Now it's on a slightly different color paper, but it's the same idea. But if you crunch it up and uncrunch it, and you can do that maybe once or twice, it gives you this nice wrinkled effect. So if the Native Americans in our area would have done this on a rock wall or cliff or cave, this is a good way to create that effect. If you don't have pastels at home, that's fine. You can do this with crayon. You can do this with crayons, and you can, if you don't have brown paper, you can color the background brown or gray, or you can leave it white if you want, and then you can sort of crunch it up. So the main thing is to do is to further understand that the Native Americans used pictographs, these little symbols, to help communicate and tell stories. So I hope you enjoyed my story.